When you have a party, hope you're hiding.
Welcome to Albert's Adventures, Part 3, Episode 4. In this episode, I'm going to talk about health. What is health and how does it work? Physical health, spiritual health, emotional health. There's all these categories that we can divide health into. But do we need to? Isn't health really just about how you want to be in the world? How do you want to interact with this reality that you're creating? And how do your actions help to create it? What substances do you want to ingest? What foods, what liquids, what other substances? This is the fundamental basis of health. What will you put into your body and what will you do with it? Whatever you do with your body, it becomes capable of doing more of that. The human body is a self-repairing, self-healing, self-building machine. It's an amazing machine, and you only have to work it. And the hardest part of health is just figuring out, what do you want? What does my body want? What does my spirit want? What do I want? Because what I want is necessarily constrained by conditioning. When I recorded this episode, I was in a state of mind that was very conducive to spiritual and metaphysical thought. Unfortunately, that state of mind was not very conducive to clarity or coherence. And so it's a little bit difficult to understand what I'm saying. So rather than just dump the whole thing on you, I'm going to break it up and then drop in from time to time with comments and discussion to clarify what I'm talking about. In this first segment, I talked a little bit about conditioning. And basically the idea that I'm getting at is that it's very difficult to know what we want, because a lot of what we think we want is only just conditioning. We go to school for 12 years, and during that 12 years, we experience many, many hours of conditioning in which we learn to behave in certain ways, to do what people tell us to, and we learn thoughts that aren't really ours, but we think that they are. We take them on and we repeat them, and then after we leave school, the conditioning process continues. We have media and social media telling us what we should think. We have other people around us, and we have learned to conform and to pretend that we think whatever we think that they want us to think. And this is an unconscious process. And so what I'm talking about is the idea of making that process conscious, of actually looking at what we think and asking ourselves where it comes from. So what is the answer? How do you be healthy? And I think the starting point is that there are 5 basic components to health. I didn't do a very good job of discussing the 5 basic components of health, so I'm not going to play that part for you. I'm just going to go over it briefly now. The 5 basic components of health are air, water, nutrients, exercise, and state of mind. And most of these are fairly obvious. Air, you need to breathe clean air, and your breathing should not be restricted. You want to get outdoors as much as you can. and get out in the air and the sunshine. Water is pretty simple. You don't drink out of the tap. You don't drink water that has poisons put into it, like soft drinks. And basically, you need clean water. It needs to be spring water. If you can get it directly out of the spring, that's great. If you can't, then just get the best water that you can. Clean water is a very important component of good health. Nutrients are not so simple. It's not easy to figure out what food your body wants, because there are so many foods that trick your body. Sugar, for example, tricks your body into thinking that you only want things with sugar in it. And that's only one of many pitfalls. But a basic rule that you can follow to move in the direction of good health is to only eat things that you recognize as a plant or an animal. If it comes in a box or a can, or if it isn't recognizable as a piece of an animal or a plant, it's not food, and you don't want to be eating it. Exercise, another important component. You need exercise, you need to sweat, your heart needs to beat fast every day. For an hour would be ideal, but whatever amount of time that you can spend exercising is better than none. Even if you can only exercise for 2 minutes a day, it's better than nothing. And the fifth and most important component is your state of mind. One of the biggest things that can ruin your health is stress. And when you have stress, your body goes into a flight or flight mode where you're ready to run away or fight, and you release chemicals into your blood that get you ready to do those things. And so other processes like digestion and the immune system and healing are basically put on hold. So if you feel stress all the time, your body will never heal, and your immune system will never work, and your life's going to be very difficult. So those are the 5 basic components. In another show, I hope to take the time to go over those components in greater depth and talk about each one of them in detail. But I think that'll have to do for now. In this next segment, I'm going to talk more about conditioning, and I'm also going to start talking about the nature of reality. And what I'm getting at here basically is the idea that you're not just a human body. You're made of energy. You are an energy field, and you exist outside of space and time. And you create this human body out of energy. So at some level, you have complete control over your human body. You can make your body be any way that you want it to. The thing is that it's not your conscious self that has that power. It's your higher self, your God self. And if you haven't spent time if you haven't spent time making yourself conscious about your higher self, then you may not have access to know what it's doing and why. But the basic idea that I'm getting at in this segment is that if your higher self wants to, it can make your body any way that it wants. It can make, if you're in pain or if you have some illness, your higher self is creating that, and it can stop if it wants to. So your role as the conscious self is to figure out why your higher self is doing this. What do you need to learn from the pain or the illness that you're going through? And not necessarily just to heal the pain, not necessarily only to heal yourself, but also to get the benefit that your higher self is trying to give you. So one important part of this is just to remove yourself from the conditioning. Turn off the TV, turn off the phone, go out into nature, and really look at yourself. Look at your body and what it's doing and how it works. And ask yourself, is this what I want? What's wrong with me? Is there anything wrong with me? And if there is, how can I fix it? My body is a self-healing, self-repairing mechanism. What does it need? And if you really look at yourself and ask yourself this with an open heart, then answers will come to you. Maybe other people will bring them to you. Maybe doctors or other types of healers. Part of the reality that we create is the other people around us. Everyone is an actor in your movie. Everyone reads the lines that you wrote. Everyone carries out the agreements that you made outside of time and space. Even enemies. Even people who are doing things that you don't see the value in right now. If anyone comes into your space and does something for any apparent reason, they're carrying out a soul contract that you made with them. They're doing their part of the deal, and it's up to you to do your part. Have you agreed to be a victim, a perpetrator, or neither? And if you don't choose one of those roles, what does that mean? What if they try to play the perpetrator and you don't play the victim? What will happen? And this is when life starts to get exciting, because you can do anything. There's no limit to what you can do. The only limit is what you think is right. And what is right? Are there laws that tell you what's right? Are there rules? Or do you just know? If you really look down inside yourself and look past all the rules and all the regulations and all the conditioning, don't you just know what you should do? And isn't that knowledge hidden under all that conditioning? Isn't it always right? Don't you always know exactly what you should do in any situation? It's only because of conditioning, because of fear-based conditioning, that you hold back your true reactions and hide your true self from what you think is the rest of the world. But it's not, it's only yourself. Everything in your reality is reflecting back to you what you are. Everything that you encounter comes from your mind, from your soul. You are an eternal being. You're made of energy. You exist outside of space and time. And nothing can change that. Nothing can take it away from you. This human body is only just a thing that you put on, just for a brief time, just to play with it. It's just a ride. Enjoy the ride. Ride it to the fullest. But know that it's just a ride. And when it's over, you'll still be here. No matter what happens to your body, no matter what happens to what you think you are, you're still here. You'll always be here. You always have been here. And nothing has ever changed. You're the same as you've always been. There is no time. Time is just a thing that you made up. Time is a toy that you made up to play with. And you're going through it sequentially right now because that's the game that you decided to play. You're playing a game of sequential time. And the minutes tick away. And you go with them because that's what you choose to do. This is the game that you're playing. And you're playing it to the fullest. Why would you stop? If you stopped, then you wouldn't be playing anymore. And that would be kind of like death. And then you would go on to something else. But you would still be here. You've always been here and you always will be. Nothing has changed. Only the Maya has changed. Only the images that you're experimenting with right now. And you can feel into them. You can feel yourself. Feel your energy field. Feel into it. Let your arms go into it. And just feel it. Feel that it's there. And just know that it's there and that it can make your body do anything. Your body's just inside of this energy field. And you can move this energy field around and it can do whatever you want it to. It can do anything. There's no limit to what your body can do. It's just a matter of what you choose to make it do. What physical constraints have you created on your body? And how do you wear those constraints? And how do they work? What imbalances have you created in this body? And how do you hold them? And do you still want them? If you do, you can keep holding them. But if you don't, you can let them go. You can move your body a different way. In this next segment, you'll notice that I'm waving my arms around in a way that looks kind of odd. And what's going on there is that I'm feeling very conscious of my energy field. And I'm kind of playing around with the fact that I can use my energy field to move my body. And it looks a little bit odd because I'm just kind of experimenting with it as I'm talking. But this is something that can be very valuable if you practice it. If you look at people like Michael Jackson or Bruce Lee, and you see them moving their bodies in ways that seem difficult or impossible, that's because that's what they're doing. They're using their energy field to move the body. And with practice, this can allow you to move your body in ways that you normally wouldn't be able to. So that's why I'm waving my arms around in a strange way. In this next segment, I'm also talking about the relationship between pain and power. And this is something that I've heard about before, and I never really understood it, and I still don't. But when I recorded this, I did feel like I had some understanding of it. And so I think that there may be some valuable insights in there. I still don't really understand what I was talking about. If you do, please leave a note in the comments and explain it to me. Also in this next segment, I'm kind of talking to myself in a way. I'm focusing on the back pain that I've been working on for the last few months, and talking about my efforts to become more conscious of it so that I can know what to do about it. And I talk a little bit about the idea that your higher self uses your energy body to create your physical body, and that your physical body can be any way that your higher self wants it to be. And in the event that your higher self decided to heal your body instantly, I guess that would be what you call a miracle. And miracles aren't unheard of. It's fairly common for miracles to occur where people just miraculously heal from some injury or illness. But it's a lot more common, I think, to go through a process of healing. You go to a doctor or an energy healer or something, and you go through a process, and that process is a valuable learning experience. And that learning experience may be the reason why your higher self decided to create the illness or injury in the first place. You can change your body right now. You can just change it. The energy fields can change your body to be any way that you want it to be. Is your back hurting? Well, then something is out of balance. Feel into it. Feel the pain. Don't hide it. Feel it. Really feel into that pain. And know that it's there. And know where it came from and why. And really look at it. Don't be afraid to look at it. It is scary. And you are afraid. But you look at it anyway. And somehow you feel it. And you change it. And you realize that it doesn't have to be the way that it is. And it can change just like that. And your body can be different. And then your body can start feeling into this new way of being. And you can find people that help you in this new way of being, where you don't have to be in pain anymore. You don't have to hold your body in the way that you used to hold it. It can be a new way, a better way, a way that feels better. And you can just move everything around. Your body can just be different. Right now, it doesn't have to wait. Maybe you want to wait. Maybe you want to take some time with it. Maybe you want to get used to this new way of being. Maybe you want to go to doctors or chiropractors or energy healers to put your body into the right shape, just to help you get used to it. Or you could do it just like that, if you really wanted to. But do you want to? Maybe you want this experience of learning about your body and how it works, and really feeling into it and understanding it. Maybe you needed this pain to help you understand what your body is and how it works. Maybe the pain that you've been hiding from this whole time is what you needed, what you wanted. And maybe if you just let yourself feel it, everything would change. And what is that pain? What is it? What is that feeling? That feeling of being so tied down, so bound up, so afraid. What are you afraid of? And really feel into that fear. What am I afraid of? What is it? bring it up and look at it. See it in front of you. And ask yourself, what is this? What is this thing that I'm afraid of? What is it? And do I really need to be afraid of it? When I really look at it, what is there? And when you look at it, doesn't it just get smaller and smaller until it's just this little frightened thing that's trying to make itself look big and trying to scare you so that you don't scare it? Isn't that all it is? And if you realize that and really face it, and realize that it has no power over you, then you can unfold. And all the fear that was holding you down can be lifted off. And you realize this is just something that you created so that you could have the experience of letting it go. And that pain is actually a gift. Every pain is the source of your power that you're hiding. And if you just go into it and look at it and feel it and unfold it, then your power comes out. And your body can change right in that moment. Right in that moment when you realize that your body can change, then it does. That's all it takes, is just realizing that your body can do whatever you want it to. You've put these physical constraints on it to play the game, but they're just part of the game. And you're still doing it because you still want to. Didn't want to, you wouldn't have to. If you wanted to stop, you could stop. If you wanted to break the rules, you could. Nobody would stop you. You just wouldn't be playing the game the same way. You'd be playing differently. You'd be playing a different game. In this next segment, I talk a little bit about power over versus power to. And that's an important distinction that that deserves a little bit of discussion. And it's a basic misconception that many people have, that people think that power is the power to force other people to do things. But the reality is that you really can't force anyone to do anything. And maybe you can trick or coerce people into doing what you want. But that's not real power. Power is the power to create, the power to do things, the power to create the world the way that you want it to be. And this is a power that comes from yourself. It doesn't require anyone else to do anything to exercise your creation power. And so when I talk about power over versus power to, I'm talking about the fact that you have the power to create your reality. And if you focus on trying to force other people to do things, you're actually giving away your power and wasting it on something that's not going to be productive. Another thing that I talk about during this section is the idea that you're creating everything. And I want to clarify that there's a distinction between your conscious ego and your higher self. And your higher self is creating everything all the time, and it creates it exactly the way that it wants to. And it is you, but your conscious ego doesn't necessarily have access to your higher self. And so I don't want to confuse anyone into thinking that it's your conscious ego that has this power to create everything. Your conscious ego is often lost and confused and doesn't really understand what your higher self is doing. And so part of the process of using your creation power is looking at yourself and getting in touch with your higher self and figuring out what your higher self is doing and how to interact with it and how you can act in harmony with the reality that your higher self is creating. And as you act more in harmony with that reality, then you become more able to consciously affect what's being created. Because power is not the power over. Power is the power to. If you have power, you can do anything. You don't need anybody else to do anything. Everybody else will do it with you. Because this is your world and you create it. And everyone will do exactly what you want them to. The reality only reflects back to you what you're creating. And if you don't like the reality, then you're not creating it very good. And get better at creating it. Pay more attention to what you're doing. Listen to what you're saying. Look at what you're thinking. What are you thinking? And is that what you want to think? Are those your thoughts? Are you really thinking your own thoughts? Or are you thinking thoughts that somebody else made up for you? And what does that feel like? What does it feel like to have someone else's thoughts going through your brain? And what does it feel like to have your own all of a sudden? Doesn't it feel like pain? Doesn't it feel like power? And isn't it the same? Isn't it? Isn't it the same? And aren't you creating everything right now, aren't you? You're creating everything that you see, and everything that you hear. Even me, what I'm telling you right now, isn't this what you created? Isn't this the contract that we made outside of space and time, that I would say this to you right now, and that you would hear me? Isn't that it? And what are we going to do now? Well, now that we've found each other, now that we know that we can do anything, what are we going to do? What are we going to create? What is life going to be like now? Now that we know that we can do anything? Are we going to keep working? Are we going to keep doing the things that we've been doing all along? Well, maybe so, but we'll do them differently. We'll just do them differently. Go through the same motions, but in a different way. And it's us doing it. Nobody has to control you. You're controlling everything about yourself and everything about your reality. This is all what you have created. And you create it every second. You're creating it right now. Right now, you're creating me telling this to you. And you're creating the gateway of technology, bringing this to you. This is what you're creating. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just here in my own experience, living my own life, doing my own thing, you are creating all of this. The way that you feel right now, the way that your body feels, the way that your energy field is, all the connections that you have to everything around you, everything that you've created throughout your entire life, you're creating all of that right now. Right now. And you could change it just like that if you wanted to, but you don't want to. Because this is the game that you're playing. And you don't want to stop playing it. You've been playing it for a long time and you enjoy it and you want to keep playing it. But you're just going to play it a little bit different, right? You don't have to be afraid anymore. There's no death. There's nothing to be afraid of. There is no death. There's no death. You're not going to die. Your body will die. And you'll say goodbye to it. And it will go back into the earth. And it will be sad. Because sadness is a good thing. It's good for you. It's good for the people that love you. It's good to be sad. To mourn when somebody's body is done and they leave it behind. And they go on to the next phase of whatever they're going to do next. It's a wonderful feeling. And one that we all need to share. And it's a power. There's a power in every feeling. Every feeling is also a power. There's no feeling to be afraid of. There's no feeling to hide from. There's no feeling that you don't want to feel. Feelings are a smorgasbord of delight. Every feeling is a good feeling. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found this valuable. This has been Albert's Adventures, Part 3, Episode 4. This was kind of an experiment. This is a lot different from any of the other shows that I've done. And I don't know if I'll do another show like this or not. That's mostly up to you. So if you loved it or if you hated it, please leave a note in the comments. Let me know what you think. And that will help me to decide if I should do more shows like this. Next week in episode 5, I'm going to have my friend Brad on as a guest, and we're going to talk about the community garden that we're working on, about crypto, about common law, and whatever else comes into our minds. Until then, please continue to be as dangerous as possible to yourself and everyone around you. Question the beliefs of others, and most of all, question your own beliefs.
Come out in your millions, come out in your billions.